And we are back. So here we are doing another Q&A. We have Patrick, who just gave a talk all about productivity. And we have Marek talking about useDApp. So I'm going to start off with you, Marek. A bit of a tough question for you to start off with. How did you choose React? A few people in the chat called out Flutter, and I, as a former Angular team member, have to call out Angular.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So it seems, so Flutter is the mobile thing. We were thinking about solving things on the web, right? So that's Vue and that's Angular. And it was really easy choice because it seems that vast majority of the code of smart contracts that we have today, of the front end for smart contracts as we have today, is on React. So we really have this, and we have a little bit of technical problems. So I didn't manage to pass the message through, but we believe that good design is opinionated, and we really build on things that people are already building. So we find those standards that people are already doing and try to build on top of that instead of figuring out from the scratch how it's supposed to be. So to give you an example, we work with Web3 React, which is a library built by Uniswap, Benoit from Uniswap, that allows to manage connections. So instead of reinventing it, we just took it and packaged it all together with all the other stuff. And we really look at the Uniswap, which was a great source of inspiration, because the Uniswap user experience is really, really good, while the code is quite complex. So we tried to recreate this user experience while keeping the code simple. So it was really those sources of inspiration: Uniswap, the general industry standards, and what we've done in all other projects. And that was one thing. The other thing, really quickly, I'm going to tell you, we tried everything. We didn't try Angular, to be honest, but we tried different things, and everything was complex. And we really try hard finding a simple solutions, and it seems that React hooks are just fine. They're just working, and it was a very pragmatic choice in that sense.
Okay. And there's a follow-up question in the chat. Is there any way to use it with other front-end frameworks, or are there any plans to add other frameworks in the future?
We don't. We think it's good design is opinionated. So if you love Angular or you use Vue, feel free to copy paste or steal as much of those ideas that we had there and move it there. But we learned with other frameworks, so Waffle, less is more. We try to have a few core really useful features that everybody uses all the time. And if something is missing, you can always create an extra package, right? So we try to keep it simple, opinionated. There's one way of doing, good stuff that there is a common understanding in industry that is a good practice. And, feel free to fork, feel free to build add-ons, feel free to build competitive products. We'd love to see, other ideas how to do that.
Oh, you're muted, Stephen.
And Stephen is
muted myself. So maybe we take a look at the other side of the coin, which is that we all know that frameworks make us more productive, as Patrick was talking about. So Patrick, how should I evaluate or choose one of these frameworks? Because there's more and more, and they all solve problems a little bit differently.
Yeah, that's a great question. So actually, at the beginning of this year, I was like, okay, there's a lot of these frameworks. Which one's the best? I want to know which one's the best. So I took basically a week, and I fiddled with pretty much every framework that I could get my hands on. I put out a video and a blog on it, basically. And the conclusion I came to was, okay, there's definitely these top three that I really like, which were Brownie, Truffle, and Hardhat. However, there were a couple tools that I found that I said, oh, well, if I really liked this framework, I would just use this framework. And I think at the end of the day, the tools that you use should be whatever you want to use that's comfortable for you. Whatever makes you more productive, it should be the tool that you use. So if you guys know him, Mariano, he's a big engineer himself in the space. I was talking to him. I said, hey, what framework are you using? And he said, oh, I'm using one of the ones from MakerDAO, which isn't Python. It isn't JavaScript. They kind of have their own built-in framework, and he says he loves it and it works great for him. There are some other tools that I looked into that were Java-based that only a handful of people were using, but they loved it because they love Java. So I think at the end of the day, whatever tools that you want to use and whatever tools are going to make you most productive should be the ones that you get into. If you want a starting point, a jumping off point, I would definitely recommend one of those three, hard hat, truffle, or brownie. And then just pick whichever one based off the language. If you like Python, use brownie. If you like JavaScript, pick one of the other two. But I think really at the end of the day, it's going to be whatever you think is going to make you more productive.
And then for front end, clearly we should use useDApp, right, Marek?
Absolutely. I don't think there's that many front end frameworks, to be honest. So the choice is easier on the front end side.
Awesome. There's actually a question about leaning more into the kind of the GUI aspect of making it easier to build dApps. And so there's a question about, are there any plans to turn this into a Squarespace interface for dApp development for you, Marek?
No, I think someone is already doing that. I remember someone is already trying to build those like kind of no code solution for smart contracts. I think eventually it's going to be huge. I really can't recall the name. Maybe Patrick can help me out here, but this is not the aspiration here. So we are like, again, trying to solve a very specific problem, which is how do we build efficiently those usable, those great user experience frameworks, those great user experience dApps, and this is what the framework is for. And again, we learned the hard way that find a problem, one problem, solve it really, really well, and that gives you a good impact on the community, which is our goal here. And so we want to focus on that. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there is some kind of, first of all, you can take it and build it if it's not there, but I'm pretty sure there's someone already working on that, and we keep our fingers crossed for that to become an important thing in the ecosystem as well.
Yeah, if I can comment a little bit more on that. I'm not sure which one's exactly doing this, but I do know there's a number of other tools that are looking to kind of bring everything together. Like I know Morales is one of them, which can work really well with useDApp, which is really cool. That are just looking to kind of take everything together. The Graph is kind of another one, which although it does like a little bit different things, it's a great tool that also integrates really well with all these front end pieces as well. So I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm trying. I don't know. I'm with you. I'm not sure exactly who's doing it, but I know there are people that are doing things like it.
Yeah, I think, and the whole no code thing is growing, and I see more and more people doing startups saying, "Yeah, I don't want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for development. I just spend a few days putting things together with Airtable and whatever not." So I think it's going to be very natural to people building front ends with no code solutions. However, there will still be people who will be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to build those advanced front ends. And we believe, useDApp is the best way to go as of today. The Graph we use useDApp with the Graph together in many projects. So it's not, I wouldn't consider it competitive. However, there are sometimes decisions, do I want to use multi-call? I don't want to do the Graph subgraph for that. But, like once you have useDApp and the Graph together, you know which one to use every single time. So it's all the initial consideration.
Maybe I've just been doing stuff for too long. I have a list that I maintain of like 50 plus no code solutions that are like code without coding, and it never solves the full problem. My personal philosophy is that at a certain extent, the simplest way to express a software idea is the code that you write to actually build it with the right framework, of course. And I'll also comment that, Marek, I think you touched on the whole concept of the cathedral and the bazaar, right? Like you're trying to embody the Linux philosophy of like, let's do one thing, do it really well, and then we can build a full stack out of it really powerfully. I love that. A couple questions for Patrick on testing. So someone asked, if I get an audit, do I still need tests?
Yes. Yes. In fact, the test should come before the audit. If you, I promise, if you get an auditor who says your code is good and you don't have any tests, please get a new auditor. That if they give you the stamp that you're good and you don't have any tests, something is amiss there. Yes, you absolutely need tests. So if an auditor comes to your code and there's no tests. Like what are they even like checking for? How do they know what your stuff is even supposed to do? Sure, you could write this whole list of like, here's what my contract is supposed to do. But even humans, even the auditors, we're human, right? We're going to make mistakes. We're not going to catch everything, especially if you give them like a 17-page document saying here's what our code is supposed to do. They then have to go manually do that. And I would be inclined to say, if I was an auditor and I got a 17-page thing that says go audit this, I would probably just write tests, because that would be faster and that would be better for me to actually check what your smart contract is doing. The other thing is, if you do get an audit and maybe you want to improve your protocol, if you don't have any tests, you have no way of checking to see if you broke anything when you make some improvements, right? If you have an upgradable smart contract of some kind. So saying, can I get if I get an audit, do I have to write tests? To me seems very backwards, because if you don't have tests, you really shouldn't be going to an auditor in the first place. So please do yourself a favor, write tests, and don't trust an auditor that says, hey, like, love the fact that you don't have any tests there, that you're gonna give me the sweats, you're gonna make me stay up at night. Yes, please write tests.
Awesome. And a close related question. Where should I go to learn to test better?
Yeah, good question. So there's a lot of different places that you can learn to test better. We actually just ran a boot camp where we went into testing. We learned a lot about testing. So if you're looking at some good samples for writing tests, I would highly recommend checking out the Chainlink starter kits for Hard Hat, Truffle, Brownie. They all have some really simple tests in there that say, hey, here's an effective way to test your smart contracts. Other than that, a lot of the typical learning materials, like Crypto Zombies, Ivan on Tech, Eat the Blocks, DApp University, all these places are going to have a lot of really good videos, really good tutorials, really good walkthroughs for teaching you how to test your code. I'm also a big fan of using some type of coverage tool as well that will also help you write tests. Again, I use Brownie a lot as well. They have like a built-in coverage flag where you can just do Brownie test coverage, and it'll tell you, hey, here's approximately how much coverage your tests are getting, which is great. And it's kind of like a good indicator. Okay, maybe I should write some more, maybe I should write some less. But yeah, I would definitely recommend checking out those Chainlink starter kits. Those are going to be a great place to see, oh, okay, this is the type of thing I should be thinking about. And then additionally, we have the luxury of working in this open source world, this decentralized world. Uniswap has great code. Aave has great code. Synthetics, You're Not Finance, all these protocols have great code, and all their tests are right there. When I was first kind of learning Solidity and learning smart contracts, learning testing, pretty much the majority of what I wanted to do, I said, okay, well, I just want to do whatever the best guys are doing, whatever the best people are doing. So I went to the repos, I learned what I could, and then put that into kind of the different tutorials and the different work that I do today. So learn from the best. Everything's open source. Check out those Chainlink starter kit repos, and you will be all set.
I would also add, go and work for somebody. Go and join someone who already knows how to do that, and that's also the third way. But definitely everything that Patrick says, I agree very strongly.
Oh, and actually, just sorry, something just came up. There's another fantastic channel that teaches about testing and everything. Austin Griffith has fantastic tools. He's got fantastic pieces. He just jumped into the Zoom, which I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot that. He's got some fantastic tools on testing and doing kind of everything here. Everything that we've been talking about, full stack as well. They're absolutely fantastic.
Awesome. So the next question is going to be back to Marek. Are you planning any online training to get more devs trained up in using useDApp? Or maybe I'll generalize it and say, like, what's the best way to get to know useDApp and to learn more about all the awesome things from Etherworks?
Sure. So, well, first of all, it's great to just, first of all, if you know React, it's gonna, and you know the basics of smart contracts, you don't need to be hardcore smart contract developer, but kind of know how to call a function on a smart contract, how to read the state of the smart contract. If you know that, you just go to the documentation, and it should be very self-explanatory. It's really built on top of React and Ethers.js, which you probably already know if you touch anything around smart contracts and front end. And we do plan some new tutorials coming. So yeah, stay tuned. Follow us on Twitter and wait for them to show up. So that yeah, we really wanna spend a little more time in the second half of this year going up and showing people useDApp. This first half of the year we were more focused on kind of releasing the first version, which is now I think pretty close to being released.
Awesome. Another question for you, Marek. Are there any special automation frameworks available for dApps?
Ooh, automation. That's one of my favorite topics. So I think as of today, there is you need to kind of build it yourself, right? So you can take hard hats that Patrick was mentioning several times. You can take your GitHub continuous delivery, continuous integration kind of feature, GitHub Actions, and build stuff around that. But it's really not that easy. And we kind of see it again and again with our customers that, delivery, there is this disconnection, there's a smart contract team doing smart contracts, there's a front-end team, and it's like, So I think the first step is get automated continuous integration kind of things with the smart contract, get automated your front-end development, right? But what we're doing with some customers right now is connecting it all together. So you have a single repository with your front-end and smart contracts. And when the pull request goes into to GitHub, the smart contracts are being deployed to the test network, and the front-end configuration is getting updated so that it works with the newest version of the smart contracts, and you can get a preview. So on the pull request, you can click preview and start working on it right away. So that's something I'm very excited about, and I think maybe this fall we're gonna publish something about how to make that happen. But it's very very manual so far. But those different pieces are already there. So if you want to build those elements, that's pretty straightforward.
Awesome. We've got so many great questions. We're not going to have time to get through them all in the next few minutes here. So there's a couple I want to make sure that we touch on because they're around the core of like how to be safe when building smart contracts. And so, Patrick, how do I? You recommended that people rely on external contracts and libraries. How do I know if an external contract has been audited or if it's safe?
This is a great question. And then actually, before I answer that, though, I did want to touch on automation tools as well, because we're getting to safety anyway. So OpenZeppelin, I always recommend OpenZeppelin. They're fantastic. They audit all their code, which is incredibly exciting because they are auditors themselves. They also have an automation framework called Defender, which is really cool. You can kind of monitor some of your smart contracts and do a little bit more smart contract specific automation. So check out Defender if you're looking to do some more automation stuff. But yeah, so learning about external code and whether it's been audited or not. A little bit of that is just checking to see whether or not an audit has been done. So I know Etherscan, actually, I know they just spoke. They have a flag where auditors can submit their audit on different pieces of code. A little bit outside of that, it's a little bit know-how, like knowing, okay, that this code has been audited or not, or battle tested or not. But in terms of like making these safe contracts, yeah, you definitely do want to get an audit, and you definitely want to use some of this code. Something that's interesting, and this is actually where I thought you were going with this question, is relying on packages, relying on npm, relying on PyPI to digest your data. So what some protocols will do is they actually will replicate, they'll copy paste everything into their repo, so that like they won't rely on the import. Like if somebody changes, if a malicious hacker comes in and changes like where all the imports will come in, that's if you're looking to be incredibly safe, or before deployment you just you do a sanity check, you make sure your deployment actually matches what you'd expect to deploy. But in any case, yeah, using these external contracts, you're going to want to check just to make sure that they've been audited, right? And whether that's going to the source and asking, or finding the audit somewhere online, it's going to kind of depend. But even when you do get audited, you need to make sure the auditors go through the imports as well, because if they only check your contracts, maybe they're unfamiliar with the package that you're using, or it's unaudited code. You definitely want to make sure that they use that as well. So a little bit of a long answer there, but there's some different places that you can check for that.
All right, and I'm going to pull in one more question here for you, Patrick. Just hopefully there's a simpler response. Yep. What are the best resources to dive deeper into more complicated smart contract patterns, like upgradable smart contracts or proxies? Like, where should people learn more when they move beyond just beginner and they want to be an advanced smart contract developer?
Yeah, I'll try to keep this one quick. Ethernaut is a great place. Chainlink YouTube, my YouTube, Austin Griffith's YouTube, all the other aforementioned YouTubes, Ivan on Tech, Dapp University, Eat the Blocks. Consensus has put out some really cool resources like that talk about known attack and low level stuff. Damn Vulnerable DeFi, written by one of the guys at Open Zeppelin, which shows like a lot of the low level stuff. But yeah, and then I would say the best place is you fiddling with stuff and testing and trying out everything yourself. But before you get there, definitely check out those resources.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and close this Q&A. Thank you so much, Patrick. Thank you so much, Marek, as well as thank you for Harith and Chichu. And it was great having all of you share your knowledge.